who is number 3, in the U.S. and like sort of. I think you could look at it like so many different ways because everyone has like a different business model and everyone's succeeding or challenged in different ways, right? GCW has this like ongoing touring, crisscrossing the U.S. and even the world in terms of smaller shows, smaller theaters, even coming, to Rochester soon, Brett's original hometown. And they have the Fight Plus deal, but we don't know what that really means, but it just does seem to allow them to do more. New Japan is here. They're under TNA, right? With Access, certainly just half of the ratings. They can do a few big shows, but that's sort of with the blessing or sort of contractual balance with AEW. And then you have TNA, which is under this corporate umbrella. And they have week-to-week ratings. They Eventbrite actually revealed some data, which I ran, which is that for Eventbrite shows which would be less than those when they run on Ticketmaster. It's been 200 people at each show on average the last few years. TNA people immediately got mad, but I'm just like, I just ran the numbers. Right? So,
how did you get access to that data? Like,
okay,
what did they out?
It was just like when you go to Eventbrite and you look at a wrestling promotion, sometimes they gift you with data. So for GCW, they've gifted us to say that 38% of the people that buy tickets are return buyers. MLW, 24% are return buyers. But for TNA, one day they gifted to say like, it was like 17,000 tickets sold. So I just looked at the past events, which might include meet and greets or whatever. But I just took that number and divided it up, and I was like 200. And when I looked at this a couple of years ago, in terms of counting maps and so on, that was the number that I came up with too. So I feel good about that 200 number without the outlier.
Sold, not just distributed.
Yeah, so Eventbrite would be sold. I'm sure on Eventbrite there's probably something where you can probably get a ticket without buying something, but I don't think that that's been the case with TNA. So this is like in their database, this is the total number that they have.
Okay. And so we think it's about 200 per show for TNA.
Yeah, 200 per show. So as my students know, a long roundabout way to get to the question again, which is, who do you think is number 3 in the U.S.?
What's the measure? Well, like, what's an appropriate measure for that?
I know that's a problem because everyone has a different measurement.
I guess to the average person, name recognition is probably kind of their gauge, right? And that's TNA because it's in large part because it's been around so long. If you think about TV ratings, wow, no pun intended, wrestling's number 3, right? Because there's no other. WoW is averaging certainly well above what Impact and New Japan were, but I would not call WoW the third promotion, right? Certainly in terms of name recognition, in terms of
they feel like just a syndicated program at this point.
And I've never heard anybody talk about WoW really, outside of, I don't know, outside of our discussions.
Yeah. I would say outside of me.
Yeah. So if we're thinking about ticket sales, New Japan can do Wintrust Arena and distribute 5,000 tickets for this show, which is, when's the last time TNA did that? What's the biggest TNA attendance ever?
So I think was that in a very TNA-like fashion, I think it was the Astrodome. So they had a big attendance, but it was in a massive place, so it didn't mean anything. Let me see if I could get.
Was this with the when they had some of the Von Erichsen?
No, this was like older, like with Sting years before, sort of like that peak TNA year. So there's the like UK attendances, so you could say like 10,000 or whatever, but like in the US, I believe it was 7,200. For sure, we'll hear from TNA followers if this is off, but it's sort of like it's not much more. 8,100 is a number that's coming. So just about that, but these were like outliers. But I think in St. Louis for a while, like they had that like run where it was like 3,000 to 4,500, that wasn't like totally out of bounds. So like before, like, I don't know, John, I don't want to blame Hulk Hogan, but before it was kind of broken around that time, that like 2008, 2011, they were putting up some good numbers, not week to week, but like you'd see some good numbers come out.
Yeah, and you could, maybe you should put Ring of Honor in this discussion, although I kind of see Ring of Honor and all AEW as one. I guess there's no clean answer to it in terms of if you're talking just about name recognition, it's TNA. If we're talking about TV ratings, I guess technically it's WoW. If we're talking about attendance, it's New Japan, right?
Yeah,